Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trading Today. Today is Thursday, February the 5th. Welcome, one and all. What another day. Is this Armageddon? Are we melting down? Look at this market. So, yesterday, we had a drop. It was came all the way down, a little bit unexpected. And as you know, I had been calling for a bottom at 681 on the SPY, and we tagged it right to the tick. It was very interesting that we hit it there. But what's gone down today is even worse. We've dropped another 50 points below that, and we are hitting the 100-day moving average. I'll show that to you on a daily chart. We have hit 23 on the VIX. I'll show that to you on a daily chart, and we will see what's going on. Roberto Gaspar, good morning. The Qs have dropped. They have, Roberto. The Qs have dropped. The SPY has dropped. The whole world has dropped today except the VIX. The VIX is climbing. VIX is up 20% today. So, couple of things. Now, if you guys remember, we have been watching the VIX for quite some time. And what have we been saying about it? Rising bottom since the end of last year, December. Actually, Christmas Eve is when we sort of bottomed out and started creating this rising bottom. So that's something to that we'll take a look at here in just a minute. All right, here we are, fixing almost for a new low. Let's see, really dragging the bottom here at 68.02 on the ES. All right, let's get over here to our charts. If you're here and you haven't said hi yet, I just want to welcome you and thank you for joining me. Drop your name in the chat and say hi. This is a friendly, interactive stream. This place is for traders of all levels. I especially love to help newer traders. If you have comments or questions, you know that I love the idea of answering all of your comments and questions and helping you. I did not get a helping hand when I first started, and I could have used one. So I'm going to try to be that for you. Alan is here. Good morning. Could you drop a link to your trading group? Yeah, I can. So I actually trade on another platform. I contract with Buy Alerts, and I publish a live trade there every morning at 9:25 Eastern. So, and that is buyalerts.com. You do have to be a member to join that. I contract with them. So I have my own company, but I contract with them and work on their platform. So if you are interested, that is the place to take a look. All right. And Alan, I am thinking about expanding my trading out here on YouTube to maybe include the last hour of the day. I'm thinking about that as well, because that's such a nice time to trade. We get a lot of good volatility usually at the end of the day. So that may be something that I try to do. Okay, Roberto, do you have a tutorial on how to set the VIX EMAs? I don't have a tutorial, but I am starting a workshop. I'm starting to do live workshops on the weekends. So if you're interested in that, those workshops will be training and teaching, and they will also have at least 20 minutes for Q&A, questions and answers. So if anyone is interested, those will be for charge, but I'm going to keep the price as low as I can. And those are going to start up in probably at the end of this month. And I'll start doing a weekly workshop for all of these questions that you guys are asking. So great question. What I can tell you right now, Roberto, on the VIX, I'll show you kind of how I am reading the VIX. And I want to look at the VIX anyway, because it's quite interesting today. We've got a pop up to 23. So we'll take a look at the daily chart on the VIX and what we're seeing here. And I'll show you the moving averages that I've got on there and some support zones as well. So let's do that now. There's no trade at the moment. We're kind of, as you can see, hitting a little bit of a bottom here. If we break this, we could drop down another level. But right now we are holding this little bitty bottom by our fingernails. The bulls are holding on to this bottom by their fingernails. So we have to see if we're going to continue down another leg or if we're going to try to hold here. Before we jump to the VIX, I want to show you where we're sitting on the SPX because we are giving up the 100-day moving average, and that is a big deal, guys. Losing the 100 is a very big deal. This is a level that all eyes are going to be glued to. Institutions are watching it. Big money is watching it. Retail is watching it. So this 100 is a big deal. So let's look at that first, and then we'll get into the VIX. Let me switch my screen up here so you can see it better. Right now, I'm just watching us build this bottom. So no trade here at this moment. All right. Here's our daily. Let's go over to the SPX. The ES daily already looks ugly, but well, let's look at the SPX. Now, this chart, I'm sorry, it's full of red lines. I know it's hard to read, but I promise you all of those red lines mean something. Joy, good morning, Anna. Good to see you here. Inner Joy, love your handle there. Okay, so this is the big deal right here. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit more and then we'll zoom out. This green line right here, this moving average is the 100 period moving average. On this chart, of course, it's a day, right? 100-day moving average. This is the danger zone. When we cross this 100, that becomes a sell signal for a lot of big institutions and algorithms. It's an automatic sell when we break the 100. It's even worse when we break the 200, but that's way down here. So we've got the 200 way down here below us, down at 6,400 on the SPX. We're not in danger of hitting that right now, but we are losing this 100, and that's a big deal. So what the bulls need to do is pull that up today, up over the 100. Otherwise, we could see more selling pressure. We've already seen selling pressure down from this high at 7,002. That's our all-time high. And ever since we hit that, we have just been dumping. Now we're only down roughly 200, 220 points. That's not much, right? That is what? 3% maybe. That's not a big drop. That's a tiny pullback in the big scheme of things. It looks bad on the chart, but in the big scheme of things, a 3% pullback is nothing. We will see 10% pullbacks, sometimes a couple of times a year. That's not uncommon. That's normal. That's healthy for the market. We need those pullbacks to get things reset correctly. So in the short term, it's not a big deal, but this is a big deal, this 100. So let me zoom out and show you where other places are where we have hit the 100 and how we've responded. Okay, Eggy, good morning. Where do you get the 100 from? It says 6,800. Do you mean 100 from 6,900? That is a great question, Eggy. I am talking about a moving average. So I know you're on Thinkorswim. You can go over to this, looks like a bottle or a beaker. If you click on that, this is where your studies exist. And if you type in MOV, it'll give you, it'll take you to that section where the moving averages are. And you can look at them in here. I have it, the 100, I have it set as a simple. So it's going to be right here, this simple moving average. And you just add it right here. You can see I've got it on my study. I have a simple moving average right here set at 100. And I have that colored coded to green. Okay. So as we lose this 100, so when I say 100, I'm kind of abbreviating in my speech. It's the 100 period moving average. So let's go back here. We are getting a bounce right now. Watch this today. This is the battle zone, and the bulls are holding on for dear life. They have to hold this 100, and they're going to try to do that. Right now, we are getting a little push off this bottom as we try to hold on. So the 100 sitting right here at 67.97, roughly 6,800 on the SPX, sitting right there. So the bulls are really trying, and the bears keep coming back and trying to slam it back down. Very, very tough battle going on here. So let's get back to zooming out here. Let's look at the times where we have tested the 100. It doesn't happen that often. So I'm going to zoom way out here. Let's get a couple of years of data. So this is the big picture time frame. Big picture time frame. Okay. When you zoom way out, I'm going to try to highlight this green line for you. This is the 100 period moving average. You can see last time we lost it, look at what happened. We got a big dump. So we had been kind of coasting, right? This is back in 2024. We had been kind of holding this 100, hitting it, bouncing, hitting it, bouncing, and then boom, we didn't bounce. We dropped, we broke the 200, that's this turquoise line, and then we dropped way down for about 48, about a 10% drop roughly. So did I say, am I right there? 10%? No, it was more than that. 62 to 48 is basically 12, 14, basically 20, a little over 20% drop here. I'm just doing mental math. So when we lost the 100 in this time frame, that was a big 10% or 20% drop. And then we recovered and went on our merry way. But if you notice, we just don't test the 100 that often. That was the last test, was back at the beginning of 2025. So almost a year ago was the last test. So as we have continued to climb, we only hit the 100 one time in 2025. This is the second time in 2025. Right here in November, we hit it and we bounced. This time we're hitting it, and the bulls really need to bounce it here. So we're trying. But it's important that you know that this is the battle zone. So watch the 100 today. It's very important. If the bulls can close over it, it is possible that we get a bounce. It is possible. We've done it before. We've hit the 100 and bounced many times. Hit the 100, bounced, hit the 100, bounced, hit the 100, pierced it, spent a couple of days below it, and bounced. But it's very possible that we bounce from here if the bulls can recover it today. And that's what they're trying to do. So this is the line in the sand. Be careful shorting here at this 100. I've made a couple of good trades on the way down. I've had a couple of puts this morning already. Those were great. But be careful in this battle zone, because this is where the lines are drawn. Okay, BD is here. Good morning, Mel. Not options trade today. Yeah, I took some puts and did well, but I'm not trading this bottom yet. Now, this reversal here, we are getting close to the VWAP. I'll show it to you here in just a second. We could consider trading across of the VWAP. That is a possibility. Let's get back to our minute. And then we will, so see here on the SPX, we did get that bounce from the low. So that's a nice bounce there. The VIX hit a high of 23, and I'll show you why 23 was the cap, and actually called that a little bit earlier. 23 was the cap today so far. And I'll show you why that is when we analyze the VIX in just a minute. But the main idea is watch the 100 today. And here we are at the VWAP. Let's see if we can get a push up through it. If we can, that's going to be bullish. We're getting close, and it's a nice bounce off the bottom. So let's see where we go from here. A push up, like I said, could be bullish. We might consider trading calls over the VWAP, maybe. This has been a strong move down. So we'd have to be cautious with any counter trend trades. Let's go over to our VIX. I'm just watching this to see if we get a VWAP test. We're getting close to it. Let's go take a look at the VIX and I'll show you why 23 might have been the cap for today. And I called this earlier this morning on my other stream, letting my followers know that if we hit 23 on the VIX, that might cap this move. Remember, the VIX is the volatility index. It measures fear in the market. As the VIX rises, fear is rising. That is telling us that the market wants to move down. The market's getting scared. It's getting shaky. VIX is coming up. Market's coming down. All right, here we are at the VWAP, getting real close to crossing. But here's the VIX rising. As it rises, the market is coming down. We have been watching, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I watch the VIX every single day. And when we look at it on the daily, I'm going to zoom out here on the daily. Nice push here. Nice push over the VWAP. All right. I'm out of my call trade. I was in a call trade before I started the stream. And could we take another one here? It's possible that we take another one here as we cross the VWAP, but the move started about 8 minutes ago. So we want to be careful and watch. In the meantime, let's take a look. Let's analyze the VIX. All right, we are still kind of popping here. Bulls are doing their best to defend that 100. Very, very important. Okay, so as you know, we've been watching the VIX, and what have I been saying all along? This is a rising bottom. And what have I been saying? When we get this rising bottom, it's likely that we're going to see the VIX spike. And what happens when the VIX spikes? The market dumps, right? So today we got a spike all the way up to 23.1. Now, if we zoom out, you can see the other times when we've spiked. Now, of course, you zoom out and it looks like nothing, right? It looks like this tiny little chart. But you can basically see here the times when we popped up over 20. Right here, we popped up to 22. Right here, we popped up to 21, almost 22. And every time we've done that, if you go back and check the market, you will see that we have dropped. Every time we see these spikes, we get these big drops in the market. So we called this spike. And yesterday, if you guys remember, I took puts that went against me. I stayed in, I averaged those puts because there were three things I told you yesterday. The VIX was elevated. That was number one. Number two, there's a low beneath us at 681 on the SPY. Well, guess what? We hit 681 yesterday to the tick and reversed. So I stayed in, I averaged, I made money on it. The third thing was the Qs, the QQQs. That is the ETF over the NASDAQ. So another way to say it is the NASDAQ had dropped way more than the SPY had dropped, than the SPX had dropped. That was also a tell. So there were three tells. The VIX elevated, the untested low beneath us at 681, and the NASDAQ dropping at a much faster pace than we were. All of those things told me the likelihood was we were going down, and I thought we were going down to 681. So I averaged that put trade. I stayed in and made some nice profit on that. But usually, and we were laughing a little bit yesterday because, you know, I was saying, oh, this could have been a FOMO trade. And in a sense it was, but I had that bigger picture in my mind. So it wasn't as much a FOMO emotional trade as it was breaking one of my rules because there was a bigger macro analysis that I had in my head. So the point I'm making here is when the VIX becomes elevated, we've got to be ready for a quick drop. And sure enough, that is what we've been getting for 3 days in a row now. Pretty quick and sudden drops on the SPX. So this pump here, this rising bottom, was telling us very clearly the writing was on the wall that we were going to get a pop up on the VIX and we were going to get a dump in the market. Now, how did we know that the VIX was going to cap at 23? How did I know that? And of course, the day isn't over. We could pop up again because things change. But I'll show you how I knew that. Let me get back to ES and move back into the minute chart on the ES. And then I'll show you how I knew that the VIX might top out at 23, which means we bottomed out right here at basically 6,800 on the ES. So one thing that I like to look at is the volume on the option chain. So that I took a look this morning at the volume on the VIX, and what I noticed was we had a large call volume sitting at 23 on the VIX, right there. Okay, the highest call volume was 21, and then we had moved at the next higher volume on the call side at the time was at 23. So we do have some growing volume here at 25 and some more here at 35. I don't know that we're going to hit that today, but this 23 at the time was the next largest. Now, we are building some volume to the put side, which also could tell us that we might be preparing to move back down on the VIX. That is possible. So, oh, you only see me. I'm so sorry. Give me just a moment. Thanks for being patient. It says I'm sharing. It says I'm sharing and I can see my screen share. You guys can't see my screen share? Let me stop it and restart it. All right. Does that help? Hopefully that helps. Bill lost the charts. Thanks, Bill. Good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. Okay. Let's get back to looking at the, hopefully you guys saw what I was talking about on the VIX. I'm sorry about that, Roberto. Thank you. Hopefully you saw, let me go back over there just one more time. This is the volume chart that I see. I set on Thinkorswim, I set my options charts, my options chain to include volume and open interest. And I'm always tracking that. It changes frequently during the day, but I'm always tracking it. Okay, we are breaking the VWAP here. Let me get back to the SPY. We are breaking the VWAP here, so we could consider some calls. Nice recovery of the 100. Nice job by the bulls. We held the bottom here at 675 on the SPY. Are we going to make a V-shaped recovery? It's possible. We are getting some kind of slower movement here on at the VWAP. It's sort of hasn't quite made up its mind yet. Could we trade calls here? Yes, but again, this move has already been extended. I'm going to look at the 680 calls. Price has come down a little bit. Volume was, or volatility was super high this morning, and the premiums were ridiculous on these trades. This is a little bit of a counter trend trade, so it's a little bit riskier. And we are coming up to the overnight low, so we could reject from there as well. However, volume is picking up. I'm not ready to take this trade yet. I do like the volume picking up. but it has been going for a while, and it's counter to the trend. VIX has given us a nice drop down to 21. All right, BD is in on strike. I'm going to give it a minute. Bill lost the charts again. Well, it's weird because I can see that I'm sharing the chart. That's so strange. So sorry, guys. Let me try again. I don't know why YouTube is being difficult today. Technology is always the Thanks for letting me know that, guys. Otherwise, I don't know because I'm not always looking at the YouTube screen. Sometimes I'm looking at a different chart. So thanks for sharing when we lose my screens. I appreciate it. All right, I'm not in yet, but I'm close to considering this call here. I just want to see how we react right here at this cross of the VWAP. All right, BD out at 270. All right, BD, that's not bad at all. That's a nice win there. Congratulations. And I don't blame you. When we're counter to the trend, you got to be really fast. There is a little bit more risk on those trades. All right, Bill, you had a spinning arrow just before you lost the charts the last 2 times. Spinning arrow? Weird. Okay. All right, I'm going to try the call here. Punch it. I am in. I don't know how long I'll stay in because it is a counter trend trade. All right, little push here. We need to kind of try to push through that overnight low that's sitting right overhead. See if we can push up through that. It's kind of fighting right here. Kind of fighting right here at this overnight low. And the move is extended, so I really would like to just get a quick little push up through there and jump out. There we go. All right, I'm out. That's about 6%, I think. Punch it. Let's see. Almost 10%. Yeah. All right, great, guys. Hope you followed. Hope you got something there. It's a little battle here at the overnight low. That's why I'm out, but that was a nice trade for me. Hopefully you guys got some. All right. So we got a nice recovery of the 100. That is hopeful. Very, very hopeful. As long as we can hold on to that, that is going to help it's going to help give the bulls some courage, right? To hang on and to keep pushing higher. VIX did come down pretty nicely here. So like I said, we had that cap at 23 and we've since rejected down from there. I think we could continue to climb today. It could be a V-shaped recovery. If we get a strong rejection off the 100, we could see a V-shaped recovery. If we lose the 100 again, we could see a lot more selling pressure to come in the next few days. So that really is the battle, guys. Keep your eyes on that 100-day simple moving average. Very, very important. All right, so let's go back and look at the daily again. I know we toggle back and forth, but that's because I'm actively trading and teaching at the same time. So let's go back and look at that daily one more time and see if we can figure out where we are going to find some support and resistance. We are back to 68.25 on the SPX. Look at, we're climbing still. I like this. This is good for the bulls. We like this push up here. Still fighting this overhead line at the overnight low, but I think we're going to break it. The next level will be grabbing this low of day. This is that low from yesterday that I was talking about, 681. That was the line in the sand from yesterday. So if we can grab this overnight low and push up through it, we will most likely try to target this 681.7. However, I don't know that I want to join this move again. I think we could continue up here, but I don't know that I want to jump in on this move again. We do have enough room overhead to make money on it. So let's take a look at our daily and see what does it look like for support and resistance. Look at this chart. Isn't this interesting? This is today's chart. So we opened with a little dip and I sold that dip, and then I had to hold all the way through this and wait for this to come all the way back down. That was a tough trade, but I made a little bit on it, like almost nothing, but I did make some on it. So then we had this rise and then this big drop all the way down to this low. And look at how nicely we've held this low at 67.80. Really nicely. Let me zoom in so you can see it better. In the meantime, I'm keeping my eye on this over. There we go. As I say it, we're popping through it. I'm keeping my eye on this price action right here at the overnight low. Bulls want to recapture that. Right there, that yellow line. Okay, so look at how nicely we've held this bottom, really nicely. We hit it here, 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 and here. Of course, this is a minute chart. If you saw this on a 15-minute chart, you wouldn't see so many tags. You wouldn't see it hit so many times. You'd probably see, 2 maybe. So we are holding this bottom really nicely. We recaptured the 100 and now we're getting a push up. This big fat green line I'll show you on the daily, this is our trend line that we fell out of. We fell out of that today. We gapped down through it. All right, Anna, is 100 moving average better than 50? It's not a matter of better. It's a matter of, I have the 50 and the 100 on my charts. They are both equally important. But when the 100 is more of a mile marker, so institutions look at 50 also. It's very important. But the 100 is kind of that line in the sand for a lot of algorithms, where if we hit the 100 and lose it, a lot of algorithms are set to automatically sell at a break of the 100. So that's why it's so important. But I would not say that it's more important than the 50. I would just say that it's a mile marker that big money is looking at. And retail looks at it too. Everybody looks at it. All eyes are on the 100, especially as we get close to it. Okay, so on the daily, back to the daily, you guys know I drew this wedge, I don't know, week and a half ago, somewhere in there. Drew this wedge. I drew the wedge when we hit this bottom here and bounced. And so if we zoom in, you'll see that we were fighting the 50. Do you guys remember? Just like you're asking, Anna, is it more important than the 50? If you guys remember, we were actually fighting the 50 here over the last few days. And if I zoom way in and highlight the line, hopefully you can see it against my dark charts. I know it's hard to see. This blue line here is the 50 period moving average. We just pierced it on Tuesday and Wednesday, but recovered it, right? So pierce, recover, pierce, recover. What did they do today? They gapped down through this trend line and to the 100. So big gap down, hit the 100, and then look at this. Do you guys see? Okay. It's frustrating to look at all these red lines on my chart, but look at where the bottom of this wick stopped. Right here at my support zone. These levels are important, even though it looks ridiculous on the chart. They're there for a reason, and the market remembers. Okay. That's why I have all these ridiculous lines, is because the market remembers these levels, right? And so if I'm going to forget them, if I don't mark them, the market remembers. So we came down and hit this support and bounced from it nicely, recovered the 100, recovered this level of support right here at 6,800. Very important. And it's the next level that they're going to want to recover here is the 6,850. That's overhead by 30 points. Are they going to be able to do that today? I don't know. We've got some negativity going on. I don't know that we're going to recover that, but that it would be the next level. Then it would be the 50. And then it would be this trend line that they're going to want to recover. Could we do all that in one day? I suppose we could. I don't know that we will. This break of the 100 is super bearish. Bullish that we've recovered it, but the day isn't over yet. It's early. So could we drop back down and have a big whoosh to the downside again? Yes, we could. That could happen. So the idea is keep your eyes on the 100, and the next target overhead is going to be 6,850 on the SPX. So that's our support. Support down here, 67.75. We held that support. We bounced. Support at the 100, 67.96, or basically 6,800, which is in line with this support zone right here. Those are the two supports beneath us, 6,800, 67.75. So those are really important. The 100 is sitting right there. So those are our downward supports. Could we go more than that today? I suppose we could. But after we lose this one, there's not a lot all the way down to 6,700. So I don't know that we're going to lose that today. I think we could hold it. That's my guess, is that we'll hold the 100 today. That's my guess. Overhead, we have 6,850 is the next overhead resistance. Then we have the 50 moving average sitting right now. Remember, that moves, but right now sitting at 68.72. And then we've got our trend line right now sitting at 68.80. So those are our overhead resistances. My guess is we will probably stay in between this trend line and this support zone. That's what I think should happen. But that's a big move. We can see a lot goes on in between here. Okay. Now, if you zoom out and take a look at the chart, it's starting to look a little scary. A little scary here. We broke this recent low. Now we've recovered it, but we did break it, and that is bearish. Broke the 100. So chart just looking a little iffy, isn't it? Looking a little iffy here. Falling out of the wedge, falling below the 100, falling below the 50. It's just looking a little weak, right? So right now the bulls it's on the line for them. They've got to hold the 100. Okay? So let me get back to my minute chart. We did not break through the overnight low. We are rejecting off of it, and we're back down to the VWAP. Could we take a move to the downside? Maybe. Let's go take a look at that. Let's go take a look. Let me get back to my futures here. All right. 6801, we've got about 30 points, 35 points below us to retest this bottom. Remember that as much as the bears want to hold the 100, the bulls want to lose it. So remember, there's an active battle going on here. We are losing the VWAP. I am going to look at puts here. I'm going to look at the 680s. They're a little expensive. Watch your position size. Don't get in too big. I'm not in it yet because we are battling at the VWAP here, but I'm considering it. Trying to hold the VWAP. Looking just kind of not sure it wants to drop, not sure it wants to climb. Let's see. If we climb again and push up through this overnight low, I would consider calls. If we lose the VWAP here, I'm looking at puts. Let's see what our Qs are doing. Our Qs are down. We're neck and neck right there with the Qs. Okay, here's a push off the VWAP. That's nice. We might toggle over. We might pivot over to calls here at the 680 strike. All right, nice push here to the overnight low. Let's watch and see if we can get up through it. We failed it last time. If we make it this time, that's bullish. Still holding. Let's see if we can push it. Nope, not breaking it yet. Looks like it could though. 680. I hope I didn't say 690. I'm looking at 680 calls. All right, I'm going to take the calls right here. I'm in, punch it. Nice little push there. All right, I'm going to jump out here just 3%. It still feels like it's battling this overnight, so I'm out. Took 3%. I'm there. It looks like it might go some more. Next target, if we continue up, will be this high of day. Excuse me, low of day from yesterday. All right, just kind of toggling here. I think it wants to break. I do. I think we'll come back up. Break to the upside is what I mean. Our VIX is dropping pretty nicely. So that is also giving us a little bit of a clue that we want to climb here. We're back to 20 from 23. Now, don't be fooled. Just because the VIX is dropping doesn't mean we're out of the woods. A VIX of 20 is still volatile. So when you've got a VIX that's elevated, always be ready for the other shoe to drop, because it certainly can. All right, Eggy, if you have time, could you explain the VIX thing you spoke about before we lost your screen? So I talked about a couple of things, Aggie. I was talking about the rising bottom on the chart, and I was also talking about the volume on the option chain. So which one? I think it was probably the volume on the option chain that I was talking about, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, I will go back and look at that, because that is a thing I look at, not just on the VIX. I look at it on the SPY, on the SPX. I watch the volume, and that is helpful. Now, remember, volume is dynamic. It's constantly changing. Look at this push. I love it. We are going to hit this low of day. Volume is dynamic and constantly changing. As people trade the option, volume goes up, and it doesn't go down. When they get out of the option, volume doesn't go down. It doesn't trend backwards. It goes forward. So as the day goes on and that option gets traded, the volume increases. And so volume is a reflection of how many times that option has been traded today. It's dynamic and it moves up. It doesn't move down. So when I want to get a feel for where the levels are, now look at that drop. There's a little rejection there. Okay. When I want to get a feel for where the levels are, I come over here to my option chain, and I have my option chain set to include volume, open interest, delta, and gamma. This is customizable on Thinkorswim, and you do it right here. Right there's right next to your option chain and your filter and your spread. There's a little spot right here where you can customize your option chain. And I do have mine customized. So volume, open interest, delta, gamma. When I am watching volume, the idea is I'm trying to see where they are putting their money, where big money, big traders are putting their bets. Where are they placing their bets? Volume tells us, it doesn't tell us exactly where the bets are currently, but it tells us what the highest bets have been today, if that makes sense. So the volume, highest volume on the call side is sitting at the 680 calls. That is right here where we're trading. The highest volume on the put side today has been the 675 puts. We've already been there. We hit 675 and we bounced. So does that mean that because this volume is sitting at 675, we have to go back down there? No, it doesn't. It just means that big money, everybody, not just big money, retail, everybody was putting their money at 675 puts. We've already been there. We don't have to go there again. But they paid their concert ticket at 675 puts, right? You don't have to stay at the concert, but if you paid your ticket, your volume goes up. That's how I think about volume. So right now, volume is growing at the 680 calls. Is it growing at 681? Somewhat. We do have some elevated volume up here, 681, 682, 683, 684. Could we get that high today? We could. It's only 40 points overhead. But we also see volume at higher strikes on the put side as well. So that just kind of gives us an idea of where people are placing their bets. Now, if we look at it on the VIX, it's basically just reversed. If we're looking at the volume on the VIX, what we're seeing is the call side. If people are betting that the VIX is going up, well, then they're betting that the market's coming down. So if we look at calls on the VIX, we can see the biggest strike was at the 21 level. It's actually where it's a little overhead. We're sitting at 20. So the biggest level today on the call side was 21. We got as high as 23, and then we came back down. The biggest level on the put side was 19. But we do have growing interest below. However, if you look at the volume on the put side compared to the volume on the call side, what do you see? Much more volume on the call side for the VIX. So that is what happened today. As the VIX climbed, the market dropped. So that's just one tool. You cannot trade on volume alone. You have to use other indicators, but it's just one tool in the tool bag, Eggy. And thank you so much for your question. I do appreciate, and I'm glad that we got to go over that because I know that my charts went missing. They went AWOL there for a minute. Okay. Roberto, I got a question. Why are the Qs contract moving significantly in prices versus how SPY moves when going bullish or bearish? I'm liking the Qs more because of this. Make more money with a small move. You can, Roberto. And I agree with you. The Qs tend to move a little bit faster than the SPY. So why is that? It's hard to say because if you look at the SPY, if we look at the volume, we usually have more volume on the SPY than the Qs. So right now we've got 145,000 on calls on the SPY. Let's look at the Q. Less than half, right? But the NASDAQ is at, what is it, at 24,000, 25,000. So it's much, it's not bigger, but the number is bigger, if that makes sense. Where the SPX sits at 6,800, the NASDAQ sits at 24,000. So that is part of the reason I think that it moves so quickly. And it is a great way to trade. I do like trading the cues, but I know the SPY much better, and so I do trade the SPY. Okay. Eggy, if I make a call at 681, that goes through when we are at 681. Yes and no, Eggy. Let me show you. Right here, we are currently trading at 680. The first call in the money right now is 680. You could take a 681 call, would be one out of the money. You could certainly do that. I don't recommend going too far out of the money, but you could go one out of the money. That's not that big of a deal. Remember, it's all about the deltas, right? It's all about the deltas. But the idea for me is I want the first option trading in the money. If we hit one above or one below, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But usually I want the delta to be sitting at 50 or better. That's usually what I like. Could I take a delta of 46, one out of the money? Yes, I'm okay with that. But usually I want to see delta of 50 or better. Hope that answers the question. I know delta is a whole nother topic, but that's what I'm looking at. All right. So we got another little tiny pullback here. So we came up, we rejected off that overnight low, came down, pushed up through it, almost recovered the low of day from yesterday, rejected down. Now we're back to the overnight low again. So this to me is a little bit tricky trading. I don't really want to trade a put here. I think we could, right? We have signs for a put. We've got the MACD rolling over. We've got the whole moving average rolling over. We could consider a put. It's tricky here because we're getting these bounces. So I'm watching. I'm not in anything right now. Maybe if we came back down through the VWAP on the put side, I would consider it. VIX is getting a tiny little push here. And we have gone long on our stream. So let's talk about the trades for the day, the plan for today. Again, overall in the big picture, it's a bearish day. In the micro picture, we are pulling up off the bottom. So that's bullish. As long as we are holding the 100, I'm not super, super bearish. If we lose that 100 again, I will trade to the downside. If we hold the 100 and continue to climb up through these levels here, these overnight low, this high of day or low of day from yesterday, we continue to climb up through those levels, I'm going to be bullish. Right now we are over the VWAP, so that is in the micro picture, that's bullish. So right now we are more bullish in the micro picture. We are bearish in the macro picture. Right now I'm waiting to see which side is going to win. It's a tug of war. It's a tug of war right now. So that is where I'm at for the day. Calls over the VWAP, puts below the VWAP. That's usually the order of business. But remember, when you're taking a call over the VWAP, make sure your other indicators are indicating that, right? Right now, we wouldn't take a call because we've got the MACD pushing down. We've got the moving average pushing down. We're below this level. We haven't been able to conquer it. So just because we're over the VWAP doesn't mean we'll take a call right now. We've got to wait for this MACD to curl up, wait for this whole moving average to curl up, wait for a recapture of the overnight low to go long, to take calls. To go short, we're going to wait for a break of the VWAP, and we're going to watch that the MACD is lining up and the moving average is lining up. So that is going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for joining. It was a great day. We took a couple of winning trades. It was a lot of fun. One was just tiny, but I think one was 10%. So that was great. And we will be back again tomorrow at 9:25 Eastern. At 9:20. That's my other stream. I'm sorry. 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back tomorrow. And Roberto saying thank you. Eggy saying thank you. Anna saying thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for commenting. This is a fun, interactive place, and I really do enjoy you guys jumping in here with me so I don't have to trade alone. All right. See you tomorrow, guys, 11 Eastern. Bye bye for now.